Crystal? Crystal, I'm checking to see if you can hear.
I got you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For patience and understanding as we work through that. Everybody give Joe a hand. Thank you, Joe, for saving the day. What? I kicked the camera? I didn't even move my feet. Good grief.
Sounds like it.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, welcome to the EMS Advisory Council. It is Wednesday, October 22nd. Gosh, already 5:46 p.m. I will call this meeting to order. If we could just have roll call for attendance, we will start with you, sir.
Matt Price here.
Barb Passo here.
Luke Huggins here. Dan Hansen here. Deanne Hansen here.
Shauna Abrams, auditor.
Vicki Conrad here. And we do have Dr. Lewis on the phone.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Awesome. So we do have a quorum. Next up is to approve the previous meeting minutes from October 8th, 2025.
Huggins makes a motion to approve the minutes. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on the meeting minutes from last time on the 8th? All right, seeing none and hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Next up is item 3, approved meeting agenda.
I'll make a motion, Passo.
Huggins second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on the meeting agenda? All right, seeing none and hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The motion carries. You sound so excited. Item 4, discuss and vote on proposal from Otho. I should have said this at the beginning. I'm wanted to make sure we set some ground rules. I know last meeting got to be 2 hours long and we don't want to do that today, especially after a 15-minute wait. So what we'll do for this, I think we all have talked this probably to death. What we'll do is we'll have the agenda item, we'll have a motion in a second, then the council will have the discussion. Then public will be open for discussion. The first comment, if you have a comment, you will have 5 minutes to state whatever you need to state. Everyone must be allowed to speak before someone else can come up again. If you have a point that has already been said, we want to eliminate some redundancies. So we'll ask if the thing that you were going to say has already been said, say something different. And the last thing is second comments will be 3 minutes long. And then after everyone has spoken, after 2 comment sessions, I suppose, the council will deliberate and then we'll vote. Does everyone understand that? Awesome. Thank you very much. One more thing, and I know Marty loves it when I tell him this, but when you are coming up to speak, we do need you to go to the podium, state your name clearly and where you're from clearly in the microphone. I will also ask the council members to speak into the microphone. It gets very hard to hear online if you're not speaking through the microphone because it runs through the system. So for the sake of everybody knowing what we're talking about, I would just ask that as well. Make sense? All right. Item 4, discuss and vote on proposal from Otho. We do have some written comments, which I will read aloud here. Dylan had sent, good evening, Nikki, please share the info with the board. Dylan Hagan, who is our EMA. Is he not here? Oh, EMA director. Below are updated numbers, January 30th, 2025 to September 30th, 2025. Total calls 98, total EMS calls 62. Fort Dodge transported 19. Otho had no EMT, but first responders from Otho were on scene. Otho transported 34, 4 tiers, 4 calls. Otho ambulance was on scene along with Fort Dodge ambulance. 1 call that was not answered by our department. This would be 69% of calls where Otho EMS responded from January 30th to September 30th, 2025. I would also like to pass on some comments as far as thoughts with my EMA hat on. Think of a school shooting, a bus crash, an accident with multiple patients. A tornado hits a town, an emergent evacuation needed from nursing home or hospital. That is the unfortunate world we live in. Why would we want to jeopardize losing ambulances? Losing Vincent was a huge hit to our community. We needed to buck the trend and should support those that are willing to help. I remember when I was a dispatcher calling Vincent Ambulance into the city of Fort Dodge to cover a call due to staffing and high call volume because they were the closest agency. That was back in like 2016. There was a comment made last night, previous meeting, that 10 ambulances in the county is enough, but is it? The school shooting in Perry had around 70 EMS personnel respond. That's a lot more than 10 ambulances. We need to be forward thinking to the future, thinking of the what ifs, because the unfortunate events that are occurring all over our country are not just a matter of if, but when they are going to happen here. For any new services wishing to start up a transport service, if I understand it correctly, they would have to front that bill and show numbers for X amount of time before getting funding. I feel like that is a stretch, and this money should also be getting used to support services to get up and running, to support services to get up and running, to provide additional services and resources. I agree that services that we have today no doubt need to be supported and see majority of the funding. It is just going to be difficult to get anyone interested to start up a service if that is the process. There's no upfront support. I was also curious about a community paramedicine program. Is that something that was looked at all, or that's something that could be done utilizing this funding? It seemed to be beneficial when we had one, as it cut down on the number of repeat customers, which could help eliminate some unnecessary EMS calls. Maybe something the EMS director would do. Also, is a vehicle or anything budgeted for them if they are going to be responding to different calls in areas of the county? The next written letter comes from Daphne Wilworth of Eagle Grove. Good afternoon. Our fire board chief, Lance Rosso, notified us of a potential issue with the proposed Webster County EMS plan. He indicated Otho is now saying they are a transporting service and would like some of the money that has already been identified to be allocated to the current transporting EMS services and non-transporting services. At a previous Webster County Supervisors meeting, I listened in on Matt Price's presentation of what the beginning phases of EMS in Webster County would look like. I thought it sounded like a good start to the plan. I feel we have to start somewhere, otherwise I feel nothing will get done. As a rural Vincent resident without any transporting EMS service available, really, or at the very least an extended response time of 20 minutes or so, I feel it is important for the current plan proposed by the EMS Advisory Council to at least get started so we can figure out what is going to work best for the county. If Otho wants everyone to go back to the drawing board to include them, I'm worried that this will delay the implementation of any plan. Once we have a year under our belt and we see what Otho has been accomplishing over the year, maybe the funds could be redistributed at that time. Just a thought. The citizens north of Fort Dodge, Clare, Barnum, Badger, Vincent, and surrounding areas are in need of a more expedited plan. Thank you for listening to my concerns. And we got another one today. This is from Colby C. Hewson. I'm saying that wrong. I would like to stick to the original plan with an EMS agreement and then go from there on Otho getting money. It is great they got a transport service going, but to get all the money the first year might be out of line. Maybe give them a percentage of it and then go from there the following years. It says it's coming from Vincent Fire. Those are, I think, the only written comments that I've received. Has anybody else received any other written comments? All right. So now you have all in front of you, council members, you have a whole bunch of information that is dealing with call times. I know Marty had brought up this list of Otho Fire Rescue personnel. We also have minutes from Otho Fire from January 6th, 2025 and September 2nd, 2025. And then we have 3 different reports on calls that came through dispatch to Otho. And I can't make heads or tail of these, so I'm hoping that somebody can fill me in on what's going on.
Start with, we asked Foco to redo their stuff. Sorry. We asked them to redo their stuff, their numbers, their data. Should we have that presented just to show what their part of this pile is? And then we can go from there with the rest of I believe there's a dispatch one and a Dr. Lewis one. So
Great.
maybe that would be the easiest way to
I'm happy to do that.
hash
Yep.
through this.
I think the one with the red writing, is that the one from
That's Dr.
Dylan?
Lewis.
That's Dr. Lewis. Okay.
You want to present, please? That'd be. It's the picture, right? I thought, yes,
Nope, that's a different one.
that's dispatch. The picture is the one with Dylan.
Nope, that's not it. Nope.
I don't know.
I think it's the long list.
I don't have it. That's why I can't find it.
Oh, well, there you go.
It's this one.
That one, okay.
So you're proposing that we have someone from Otho Fire come and let us know about the
Yeah, I
difference
think, well,
between,
we had some, I think last meeting, we just had gone through some things and the data had changed a couple of times. So I think I just want to make sure we're clear on this is what the proposed is from Otho. I guess that's be my question.
okay, Marty, are you prepared to come talk about
If that
what
makes
Otho
any
proposes?
sense to me.
Excellent. Would you please, if you're asking that, would you please come and let us know what Otho is proposing, just so we have all of that on the table,
Okay.
please, sir?
Yes, my name is Marty Smith and I'm the Otho Fire Chief.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, in the past, Dylan presented a kind of a condensed version of this data that you've got here. This data is very confusing and it takes a long time to slog through it. That's what Dylan did with these colored sheets that you have. He specified on the colored sheet exactly what each one was and whether we responded, whether Fort Dodge responded, kind of those things. And then he condensed that down into that total report on the last page of that one with the colored pages. So I guess if anybody wants to check what all this means, the original data is from Webster County, and that's this stuff. And that is a flat out printout from Webster County, from the telecommunications center, of pages and pages of data. I don't know a whole lot about it. Dylan does that kind of stuff. He's very familiar with it. The dispatch center probably is very familiar with this data. We can collectively, if you would like to have someone go through and kind of help get this audited, if you're not satisfied with what Dylan has come up as the summary sheet of it, we can certainly do that. But it's extensive. I mean, we're talking about a lot of data here that has to be looked at. So if somebody would like to do that, we can certainly go through that again. But Dylan has already done that. He already gave a condensed version of it, the final part there. So I'm not sure where you want to go from here.
The condensed version of that would be what Dylan's comment was, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what, I just want to
Yeah.
make sure we've got all that.
And your proposal, just to refresh everyone's memory, your proposal is to have the 75,000 be given to Otho Fire, is that correct?
Okay, so there's quite a little discussion, and Cameron had some discussion at the last meeting about that we started being a transport agency basically the 1st of February. So that's only 5/12 of the year. So whatever, all we're asking is to be fair, but I have some other things to talk about prior to that, if we could, if I could go ahead.
I think we need to stick on topic, and if you
Okay.
have the proposal that you want, since that's what we're discussing, then we'll have you come up after, if that's all right.
That's fine.
So the proposal is to recognize Otho Fire as a transport service and therefore allocate funding in that regard.
Yes.
What questions do we have, or what conversation do we have on the board?
Well, we were on the subject of data, so maybe we just stick with that for just a minute, because I'm not sure that, like, as Marty said, there's a lot to this. Dispatch, would you like to elaborate? We have something from dispatch that is a similar thing as what Dylan put together, also comes from the CAD. So I'd like, wherever that went, I have
Could you say what CAD is so people know?
computer-aided dispatching. This is how we get calls, I guess.
Wonderful.
Maybe dispatch.
Well, hey, thank you. Oh, we already got this one. And then just when you're ready, if you could say your name and where you're from.
I'm Christy Lemson. I manage the dispatch center. We are totally neutral. We get a call. We tell we tell the people who to go to, and we're neutral. I mean, but we weren't involved in any of that data. Like, we weren't asked to help pull it or knew anything what was at the previous meeting was said. So with that being said, though, there is a lot of discrepancies. A lot of the discrepancies can be for a lot of different things, such as like mapping. So currently in our CAD, computer aided dispatch, when a dispatcher gets a call, they rely on our mapping, and our mapping currently only says Fort Dodge as an EMS transport, Cowrie and Dayton. It doesn't say Otho as a transport. So it's up to the dispatcher to utilize that, and sometimes in an emergency, since they don't have that mapping that they can look at easily, those mistakes can happen for sure. As well, to have like a playbook of, a new agency, like, are you using the ambulance as a med lift assist or a lift assist? Because generally we wouldn't send an ambulance. That would be a first responder who would go to that. There is a lot of different variables that go along with it. I'm going to turn it over to Brian. He has the numbers for you.
Can I just have you really dumb it down for a second though?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I don't know like where
All
everyone's
right.
knowledge level is at.
So when a call comes in from around, let's say, Kalo,
Mhm.
around Otho, what is the process when a call comes in?
So their dispatch they have to know it on their own. We don't have, you watch on TV where it says, it tells you everything. They're not. They have to rely on memory. We don't have, so our GIS is not updated. So it doesn't say Otho is a transport service. So if it's like on that line, they have to go by memorization. And I know it's been a thing for a while and we haven't had updated maps. We don't have the updated maps for Vincent or Claire either. So, but that's been a thing for such a long time that they kind of know that those ones Fort Dodge goes to. Did
So-
that answer your question?
No.
No.
Um,
Okay.
So a call comes in, the dispatcher says, oh, that's around Otho.
Yep.
They know that it is. Then what do they do? Who do
So
they
we
send
have
it to?
on the side of a CAD, it says who the EMS district is, who the fire district is. So our CAD is not updated to reflect any of that. Our CAD the GIS part of it hasn't been updated for quite a while. So they're relying solely on memory to remember that is the area Otho now covers.
Okay. And then if they decide that, yes, it is, then they call Otho. What is
Yep.
the next thing?
Yep. So then it'd be Otho EMS they send out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Brian,
A little less confusing.
oh, slightly.
What she was referring to on the mapping.
Can you, Brian, I know who you
Oh, I'm
are, but
sorry.
can you just say who you are?
Yes, I'm Brian Hitchcock. I'm the Director of 911 for Webster County. when it comes to taking a call, there, as she indicated, there's mapping, and that mapping, depending on where the call comes in, will show us who responds to it. So recently, when OTHA went online as a service, we don't have control. We can make a request to change those maps, but to actually change them and put them into CAD system is out of our control. So that's kind of an issue that we're working with right now. But we believe that there's a new GIS person that's being trained up presently, and we hope to have better luck with that in the near future. The numbers that I gave you here were directly from what Dylan had posted. So I took and I transferred them onto a Word document here. And all of the ones that everything that you see in yellow is something that OTHO EMS, either ambulance 58 or 59 responded to. There are a couple calls that were on there that were there prior to the 58 and 59 ambulances being in service. We also had some calls that were not listed here that we seen in our system. So you'll see several of them that are in bold. Those are ones that we caught that Dylan didn't have in his reporting. And so what I did is I went through each call and I quantified whether an ambulance did respond to that, or was it just the volunteer firefighters that went to it. And so in my response, or in this, you will see that either 58 or 59 responded, or this is not an EMS call. Like there's a motor vehicle accident where the ambulance wasn't even requested. Dylan had listed it. It's just not a call for EMS, nor did an EMS ambulance respond to it.
So to be clear, that could be an issue where Otho Fire would respond, but not necessarily with an
Correct.
ambulance.
Yeah, and it's kind of blurring the lines because, like a med lift, a lot of times they'll send out the volunteer firefighters if there's no injuries. So if a person fell down, there's no injuries, they'll get the volunteer fire people to get out there and help lift that person up. An ambulance is not needed unless there's, but these are being counted in these numbers. So there are other ones, let's see here. Special events. Nobody else claims those. Those are maybe something somebody likes to go to. Is it a bad thing? No. But it's not something that anybody else, whether it's Dayton, EMS, Gowrie, EMS, or Fort Dodge, claims those as a CAD call. What happens when they come in, they'll call into dispatch saying, hey, we're at a special event at such and such time, log it down. And that's what shows up in the CAD system.
If they were to take somebody from an event to a hospital, would that then?
Then it would, yes.
That would be,
But
okay, that'd be a separate.
I counted 17 of those events, and I might be wrong, but I didn't see any calls that were driven from that.
Okay.
I think so. And then there was also 11 calls that, like I say, Dylan didn't have on here, and they were pretty substantial. They were like seizures and med chest pain and stuff like that. And so what I did is at the end, I listed, so I apologize, it's on both sheets of paper. Somebody told me I shouldn't kill trees, so I've been trying to do things on both
It was
sides.
probably me, Brian.
So in the end, I seen his numbers. I didn't quite understand them, but what I've listed here is that there, in addition to the 11 calls that I found, there's 111 calls, of which we did see a response from ambulance 58 or 59. 26 of them where we didn't see a response from 58 or 59. That could be for a number of reasons. They may have called off and said, we don't have a driver, send Fort Dodge. So we could dive deep into that, but we only had a ability. We just seen those pictures of the calls yesterday. So we had to go through each one of these and quantify them. Then 6 calls were prior to them being in service. 1 call was handled by Dayton EMS, so I don't know why that one was listed. Yeah, and that's basically about it. But those numbers show what we have in the computer-aided dispatch system. And to reiterate what Christy said is, Dylan said those numbers came from us. We didn't run that report. I think Dylan did.
Okay, so I'm doing real-time math here.
All of those equal 111.
I'll
I was doing the same thing.
Thank you. So 111 calls, 39 were responded to.
45 were responded to.
Math, Brian.
What's it? It's on the sheet?
It is?
Yeah, it's
No,
not
but
bad.
I mean that,
Yes.
I'm looking at percentages. I'm trying to figure out the percent. So if, we'll round up, 45 responses to 111 calls, that's 41% response.
But I think though that some of those you have to take out of the equation, like the special events.
Okay.
I think,
Oh, yeah.
You know, for the percentages, I think the 6 calls prior to them even being a service should probably be deducted, the one that Dayton handled, all of them that I have listed here, so that changes the dynamics of it a little bit more. And if given more time, we could dive deeper into this, looking at response times, what it takes, you know, one notified, one out the door, one on scene. We could take and peel apart every one of these.
Okay, so if I take 111 calls, 16, take out 16 EMS, not EMS calls, take out 6 calls prior to being in service, take out, shoot, what did I just do? Minus 16, minus 6 calls prior to service, minus 1 handled by Dayton, and minus 17 special events. My math is not mathing. Yep. Minus 6, minus 1, minus 17. Okay, so that's 71. 45 responses. Is that correct?
Yes.
You already get it? That's 63%. So that's the number we're dealing with according to this.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I'm counting my numbers.
Got it. Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples here. Okay. All right, let's try to keep it down. Thank you.
Is that it?
Did you have any other questions for dispatch or
No.
anything else? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Nope, we're gonna wait.
The other set of data we have is Dr. Lewis.
Dr. Lewis, did you want to present the data that you submitted to us?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. I don't have it right in front of me just because I'm moving about right now and stuff like that. But so basically I pulled data from Image Trend, which is the report software. So like when they go on a run report or go on a run, then they have to write a patient like report. And so that's kind of where I had just kind of looked at data and stuff like that. And there were multiple calls on there that were again reported. They were like special events where they did some standby stuff and that kind of thing. And so there's just some inconsistencies in what we're documenting and what we're calling an EMS call versus an event and that kind of thing. And so that is one of my concerns. But even looking at this data versus you're looking at dispatch data versus what even Dylan's presenting, you know, there's concerns that we're still not hitting that mark to make the agreement as a transport agency. And while I don't deny the fact that yes, we need more EMS in the community, so I don't deny Dylan's comments on that. I wholeheartedly agree. That's part of the reason we're doing some of this is to try to get more EMS services in Webster County. There are some concerns on where we're currently performing at that level. And additionally, there are times in which Otho is sitting at an event and a 911 call will come in and they have to decline that run and give it to Fort Dodge or another service to go to because they're sitting at an event like at the fairgrounds where they're doing motocross or racing or whatever they're doing and that kind of thing. And so I'm just concerned about some of the data that's being presented and the inconsistencies, trying to maybe make it look like we're responding to more things than we actually are. Additionally, some of my concerns are looking at some of the reports is that Dylan does a fair shot of these reports and patient care, and what is that sustainability and that kind of thing. I see a roster of EMS people that's that the state has, but multiple people on that roster are no longer even working at Ortho or consistently picking up any 911 calls and that kind of thing and stuff. And then my last real concern about a lot of this is that the mission behind the EMS essential services is that we are trying to provide the best care for the citizens in the community in Webster County. And there were two direct statements that were made, I believe by Dylan by Otho Service during the last meeting that I feel potentially counteract that. When asked if they would continue to transport patients if they don't get the money up front and stuff like that, the answer was no. But what's right for the patient, the answer should be yes. We want to try because I think that they need to prove that they can do this by meeting the agreements that are set forth so that we can possibly reevaluate this. The other comment that was made was that, well, we don't need ALS. Well, if ALS can get to the scene in the same amount of time or close to it, given the fact that currently Otho has asked for a delay page to Fort Dodge to allow them to go to a call, ALS is really the service that a lot of people do. There's at least 40 to 60% of calls are an ALS type call. And so downgrading that from a BLS to a BLS call when it has a high potential to need ALS interventions and higher level of care also then goes against the mission of the EMS essential service. And so that's where my concerns come in.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so for the crowd, ALS is paramedic.
Correct.
It's the highest level of service that we have, correct? BLS is essentially a downgrade from, well, I mean,
Lesser scope.
it's a lower level of service, lesser scope. Great. Okay.
Very valuable still.
Yes, I'm sorry. And I should have said that. I'm sorry. Okay. Did you have anything else, Matt?
I think that's all the data, I believe.
The other thing that I was a little worried about, and Dr. Lewis touched on this briefly, is the sustainability of being able to respond to calls. Given that all our reports say most of these calls are being answered by Dylan, and I'm sorry he's not here today because I'd like to get some answers from him, but my understanding is that he has been camped out at the Otho Fire Station. Has he been at the Otho Fire Station primarily? Because it's worrisome, and I think I'll leave it at that. But if he is the one responding to all of these calls, I just wonder about the sustainability as well of, are we going to be able to keep numbers up if it's not Dylan answering it, the primary number of calls or the majority of the calls? So that's one thing that I was worried about. Where did you want to go from here? Did anyone have any questions or any other feedback other than what we've already discussed? Or do you want to open it up to public comment at this point? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Marty, well, first of all, any of the people in here that take care of people, thank you. It's,
Give it
And
back to me, I'll come up here.
no, not yet, but I will.
No, we're going to wait.
Okay.
I will. And I highly respect that. I've been kicking this around since the late 1980s, if that tells you anything. Marty and I are a couple old dogs in this. So, with that said, the last 2 weeks has been interesting. I've been getting all kinds of calls. People stopping me, wanting to know about the Otho ambulance situation. And really two things came to light through all those conversations. And the two items that came up, one of them I wasn't sure. So I reached out to legal counsel for some legal advice. Take that as you want. The thing that was clearly stated to me was that the liability of when you take a full-time paramedic service and voluntarily go to a BLS service, the liability behind that. That's a concern. Take that for what you want. The other part of it is the fact that when we proposed this, we were going to provide the highest level of care. And isn't that ALS? Now, Marty, I watched you guys at the races. Both my grandsons raced motocross. You guys busted your butts. I watched it the whole day. Back and forth, back and forth. I am not doubting your abilities. But my concerns are the liability if the county, and we have to think of the whole county, right? So if the county signs off on this, are we liable? Because ALS, the whole situation behind that. So those are a couple of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Barb, you had some comments after the meeting last time about a timeline.
I had Barb Passo. Marty, when we started this, Marty came to see us, my trustworthy notebook. April 24th, 2024. So it goes back a while. He came to visit us, give us his input, talked about Otho. He said that you were talking about getting an ambulance back. He said you have 6 to 7 EMTs now. Dr. Sokol was going to okay you on the following Sunday to get you up and running. You're waiting on a state inspection for June for non-transport. Your agreements were signed with Fort Dodge, whatever I wrote that for, I don't know. You said you could not be 24/7. And when you could, there would not be an EMT in town, only nights and weekends only. You said you could only do it from 6 a.m. Excuse me, could not do it from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You would be in service and on weekends. Okay. So June, we had a meeting. Otho still wasn't up and running. We had scheduled our next meeting in July. We ended up postponing that, had it in September. And in September, it was still, things weren't done yet. November 13th, Otho said they were not ready yet. Their licenses weren't done. We had to get something to the supervisors to get a vote taken. At that time, in our best interest and the best interest of the people of Webster County, we had to go with what was in our heart. I'm not begrudging Otho. I'm not begrudging anybody. Okay. Otho was just like everybody else. The rest of the county that does not have an ambulance service. And that's how we decided we would go. That's how we presented it to the voters. That's how we took it out to every fire department and every city council that we went to and spoke. I'm sorry. We grouped you in with everybody else. Yes, things have changed. I'm happy that there's another ambulance service. Don't get me wrong, but I'll just butt there. That's it. Not gonna say no more.
I just want to make a real brief comment. I think last time I made a lot of my point of views and got long-winded, so I'm going to try to change that tonight. I'm just going to go back to one thing that I think I kind of got foggy for me last time because of this many people here and the contentiousness of it and people going back and forth. I think I kind of forgot that we did say from the beginning that there would be a time we look at this, and to every meeting we have to try to now change everything to make everything work is just not going to be sustainable. So I think last time I asked for some numbers and said we needed to look at it. I still think we need to look at it, but I don't think we're at that point because we haven't even started this yet. And we've said from the beginning that after it was started, and we met in December around that time to discuss the previous year and what needed to change, that would be the time when things like this happened. So that is the only thing I will say, and then I will be quiet for the rest of this meeting.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else want to chime in? Ah, that's okay. But I know better.
Your permission?
Yes, of course.
Well, anyway, after I spoke at the last meeting, Dan Hansen from Southwest Webster Ambulance Service, I've been the president there for 20 years and worked very closely with BLS and volunteer services, who I have the highest regard for. There was some misunderstanding and some miscommunication after I was supporting Fort Dodge Fire and Rescue that's been covering the Otho area for years. Prior to that was Trinity. And so I was speaking about the point of how important it is for ALS service, the highest level of care and the quickest response time possible on Highway 20, on all the intersections of Highway 20, and also the residents, myself included, as far as having the ability to get ALS service there. Now, I'm not belittling BLS at all. Volunteer services, I've done everything we can within Southwest Webster because we don't have that close proximity of paramedic ALS care at this time. Hopefully with the essential services, EMS essential services, we're going to work towards that. We're going to work towards paid BLS service. I mean, my own family has used volunteer service, BLS service, the highest regard for them. If we didn't have them in the Callender area with the first responders from Callender or the ambulance service from Gary, and that's where we as a committee from the very beginning looked at all the communities with Claire and Barnum and Vincent and all the other ones that have first responders. We identify them now as non-transports, but they are first responders. They have EMTs, EMRs, that kind of staffing, which is very valuable. I mean, we couldn't do EMS in this county if it wasn't for the volunteer and the BLS services that we have. That being said, we need to focus on what this committee came up with from the beginning when I've been on it with the current committee that we have to go forward with a plan. And that was using the 3 transport services and the 10 first responder units or the non-transport units within the county. And that's what, after all the meetings, all the decisions we made, and supporting every one of those non-transport services with $10,000 to help either bring up their EMTs or their EMRs, help train more on the fire department to become a BLS or that level of care in these areas where we don't have ALS at the time, to hold and to help until a transport got there. So we came up with the best plan at the time, what we had to go forward with, to present it to the voters, present it to the supervisors, which they were on board with, and then we presented it to the voters. The voters passed it, and now we need to go forward with this, as Chief Price shared at the supervisors meeting, the whole packet, all the information that we put together. There again, we can't continue as we will continue as an EMS essential services within the county, and we'll only improve that with the funding and the training and the equipping that we're planning on. But don't get me wrong. I've supported for 25 years. I've been on the ambulance board, not on the crew, but the ambulance board for 25 years, providing for the crew members whatever they need and the safety of them, but also to be able to get to the victims that they have. That's why we have what we have in the Gary area. And we use Fort Dodge Fire and Rescue on our ALS calls, but we're working towards ALS service. And that was what I had mentioned at the last meeting, that the ALS service, paramedic service, that the Otho Fire District and the Otho area and the people that visit that area and the people that pass through on I-20 should be first call from dispatch should go to Fort Dodge Fire and Rescue. Now, the EMTs or the first responders or the non-transports at Otho, if it's in their area, so be it, that they get there too. I mean, that's a huge asset. So I just wanted to make that statement and make it clear, because there was some confusion that I don't support BLS, that I was told that I slapped them in the face. I was told that they were embarrassed by what I said. And that is certainly not the case at all. And so I just wanted to take the opportunity to clarify that, but also the importance of what this committee has come up with the best interest at this time for going forward, because we need to go forward to get the 2080 agreements all put in place, that Fort Dodge will be able to cover Fort Dodge Fire and Rescue. And yes, I say Fort Dodge Fire and Rescue because they are the ALS service that's going to cover from 280th Street north, but also they'll cover from 280th south, as long as Dayton Rescue and Southwest Webster Ambulance Service need ALS to respond, which we tier with, which has been a great asset for our ambulance service, as it has been for Dayton Rescue. So we work with what we have, we work with what we put together, and we go forward from there. So I just wanted to make that known and clear that I do support the volunteer service of this county and the BLS service and the first responders and the non-transports, everything we got in EMS in this county, and trying to improve upon that with what the plan we came up with. Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course, of course. Luke, did you want to make some comments?
Yeah,
as
just
well?
a couple comments. So Luke Huggins with Badger Fire and Rescue. Like the others have said, I mean, I know many of the Otho responders. I was in EMT class with a couple of them, and they taught me a lot, and I've learned a lot from some of the other providers as well, from when I started working on ambulance and worked with them. So nothing but respect for Otho. And I completely understand this. As long as I've been in the fire service, being a non-transport agency up in Badger, we've always held Otho in high regard because they seem to always get really good grants and be fiscally responsible in Otho and very proactive, which is what we heard here. In this case, they bought not one, but two ambulances to be proactive because they didn't think this vote would pass. And thankfully it did pass. But, you know, they bought those ambulances and I assume had the budget for it to be sustainable, at least for some time, to serve their community, which is commendable. But we also spent a couple years putting together the plan that was voted on and taken to the public. And so, you know, when, as part of that planning up in Badger, you know, at one point we met with Vincent when they still had an ambulance, trying to figure out if any of our providers could help join their service. And we couldn't get anybody to sign on to, you know, spend the time to help run that and run calls even. So again, I commend Otho for even being able to put together everything they have here. But we also need to look out for the entire part of Fort Dodge and the northern part of the county that's looking at, you know, having this Fort Dodge be the main transport agency. So for now, I'd kind of echo the comments that came from that Vincent letter that said, you know, I'm more in favor of moving forward with the plan we had and then maybe revisit this later, again, knowing that we want to make sure that things like inflation and all these other things wouldn't put a roadblock into the plan that we already put together. You know, and since we're 7 months past the vote and we haven't been able to even finalize 28Es yet, you know, who knows what those kind of construction numbers or ambulance numbers or any of those other items will cost here by the time we get money flowing through. So that's kind of where I stand.
Sure. I'm the one who doesn't do first responding. right? My only tie to it is my brother who works at Fort Dodge Fire and just being a citizen who really likes having an ambulance ready when I need it. That said, I think my role on this council is to think about a couple of different things, the money and the voters. And in my research and my due diligence, I spoke to somebody at state down in Des Moines. I think I've said this from the get-go several times, that what we are doing here in Webster County is being very closely watched by the legislators and the executive branch down in Des Moines. They are looking to see what we're doing and how we're accomplishing what we're doing. And I say this with all love in my heart to the folks in Des Moines. They have a very longstanding tradition of letting counties and letting locals do things, and then, you know, a year or two later saying you did it wrong and we're going to switch it all up. So that's been in the back of my head this whole time. So I reached out to somebody down in Des Moines, and they confirmed that yes, they are very closely watching what we're doing here in Webster County. They are very concerned that we are discussing going beyond the ballot. In other words, they're concerned that we're considering funding something that the voters did not vote on this year. As some of you may know, the governor's Doge committee put out a report this week. And the concern is that there will be a duplication of service, and adding another transport system would be counterproductive. This is what I'm hearing. The concern that I have is that, yes, we need to move forward on this. We need to put what the voters voted on into place. In my opinion, and according to the timelines, there should have been conversations to help educate voters and get this passed by folks in Otho. We haven't even implemented the vote yet, and we're looking to change it. And I just can't, as a representative of the government and my constituents, and for concerning what can happen as a result of the decisions that we make here, I can't in good faith change what the voters voted on right now. That's not to say that, again, this can't happen later on, in my opinion. But I don't think that X amount of months of service and conflicting reports on what is and what isn't being called is not enough information to go on at this time. So I just wanted to get that out. Does anybody else have anything to add before we open it up to public conversation or discussion? Dr. Lewis, did you have anything else to add? Yeah, she peaced out. All right, so now we're going to open it as promised. We will open it up to public conversation. Again, the ground rules. You have 5 minutes. Cameron, are you going to be taking care of that? Thank you, sir. 5 minutes for your first comment, and then I will ask that we allow everyone to speak at least once who wants to speak. Once we're done with that, if you would like to get up and speak again, we will limit conversations to 3 minutes. And please don't repeat something that somebody has already said, just because we're already almost going on an hour here. So who would like to go first? I figured it would be you. Come on down, sir. Again, say your name and where you're from.
Marty Smith, Otho Fire Chief.
Thank you.
And I don't even know where to start. So I have all these things written out that I'm not even going to pay any attention to. So first of all, there was a question at the last meeting about sustainability. And I know there's been questions about sustainability of a volunteer service. I gave you the Otho Fire personnel roster. And I just want you to note on there that there are 7 members that have joined since January of 2025. So 3 of them are EMTs, 4 of them are firefighters, and we have a candidate that's training to do both. We have 2 firefighters that want to be EMTs. They're thinking of going to the class and taking that. We have 1 firefighter that's presently an EMT that has taken the paramedic course and has passed it and is in the process of certifying. So to me, that talks about sustainability. You and I both know there's no guarantee on sustainability, especially with a volunteer organization. But I'm saying that I feel like we're adding people to our service, and some of it is because of the fact that we are a transport service. So that being said, I know that the CAD system doesn't show Otho as a transport service, and there's always some confusion on the part of dispatch about whether we get dispatch, whether we're going to respond with EMS, so forth and so forth. It's all very confusing because it's just kind of a patchwork, whatever you want to call it right now. The CAD system still shows Fort Dodge Fire as the responding agency. So I know that's kind of a mess, but I guess my whole question is, and going across what you said about the legalities and of going from from an ALS to a BLS service, all I see to that, if that is the case, then there will never be any change in Webster County because Otho District, all of the northern part of the county, everybody is being responded to by Fort Dodge Fire, an ALS service. So if Vincent wants to start an ambulance service, or Claire wants to start an ambulance service, or Badger wants to start an ambulance service, you'll say no because you already have an ALS service and you don't want to go back to a BLS service. And that's the same exact thing that will happen in the future with us. We're a BLS service. So if ALS service Fort Dodge is serving our district right now, you would not want to go back to a BLS service, so you'd refuse us as being a transport service. That's just my take on what would happen in this particular group of the approval of an additional BLS ambulance service in the county. It's just not going to happen. So how is that increasing the responsiveness to the public? I don't agree with that. So the only other question I have is just a legal question. I love legal questions. The EMS service, according to the essential funding, according to Iowa Code 2025, Chapter 422D, talks about a lot of things that are eligible for reimbursement through this EMS essential services money. One of the things is land and buildings. And I understand Fort Dodge Fire wants to build a new fire station on the west side of town, and I totally agree it's probably needed. But my question about it, and it's just a legal question that you need to answer, is that if that particular building is shared by a fire truck and an ambulance, how can the EMS money be spent to build a portion of the station for a fire truck? To me, that's totally not part of this whole concept. So it's just a legal question that has to be answered. My feeling is that the city of Fort Dodge's budget should pay for the portion of the building with an ambulance, and the EMS money, essential services money, could go towards the ambulance side of it, whatever that shared cost would be. It's just something I haven't run across in reading the law. So it's something I think you really should address. So I don't really have a whole lot else to say other than the fact that I just don't think anything will ever change in this county if the present status of things are the way they are. It's going to be the same old, nothing's going to change. So my opinion.
Sir? Someone else like to come up? Name and where you're from. You know the drill.
Hey, Michael Halbert from Fort Dodge. So I also run on Badger Fire Rescue, and I have been with Otho a couple of times for those racing events that you saw us jumping out and putting out fires. I do agree with you because it does come down to if Fort Dodge Fire paramedics transfer patient care to a lower service, they're liable for malpractice. So that is the exact same mindset that we have to have as a county, because they're not going to go after Otho for a lawsuit if the transfer of care was downgraded. They're going after the county. So I hate to say that I agree with that, Marty, but this is also something that we have to understand, that on the national registry, that I've taken the test for EMT 3 times, that question is mentioned 3 different times in 3 different ways. And it always comes back to is malpractice to downgrade care. And that's what's going on. That's essentially what you guys are asking. Now, I know your residents and you guys are very tenacious. I've been there with you guys. You're doing a lot with less, really you are. And I appreciate that. As far as your comment on the station, you know, the citizens of Fort Dodge voted for that station as well. And if the county doesn't need that ambulance right away, that engine does carry the other firefighters for a cardiac arrest in the city. It's meant to serve both the county and the city. So that has to be in mind for us as well. And who mentioned that Perry needed 7 ambulances?
Dylan in his
Dylan?
comment.
So with that, if 10 ambulances isn't enough, I guarantee if we called Van Diest and Webster City, if we called Humboldt Hospital, hey, we have a school shooting and we need some ambulance, I guarantee you they will send out whoever they have. And at that point, it's a triage and we'll work with whatever we got with the black tag, red tag, yellow tag, and so forth. So, and if anything, Marty, you are a fighter. This is a challenge that's coming to you. And I really do believe in you guys from the short time that I've been with you guys on those racing teams, that you guys can rise to this challenge and be a BLS service that they will recognize. But we cannot take away from the fact that when ALS is needed, it's needed. I mean, you guys can be there. You guys can transfer patient care to Fort Dodge, or we can always cancel if they're not needed, and you can just transport then. But that's just the national standard, and it's not going to change just because Otho thinks that they need that particular service downgraded. So that's all I got.
Sure. Anyone else? Hi. State your name and where you're,
Travis Stamberg.
sir. Please be gentle, sir. Before you start, calm down. Take a breath. I need you to respect the fact that
I am very respectful, but
Sir,
I'm about this far
I'm-
from telling
I'm
a lot of you guys
speaking.
where you can go.
I'm speaking. You need to respect the fact that, sir, respect the fact that this is county property paid for by taxpayer money.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and where you're from. Thank
I did. Travis Stamberg, Otho Fire.
you very much.
First and foremost, how many calls do you guys run? The guys that actually run calls in here, there's a few of you. How many of you do you actually run into that are ALS calls? Because it is not 60%, first and foremost. Let's hear it. 25, maybe?
Sir,
That are
this is-
actually
this is you
ALS.
Making a comment, they don't have to respond. Please continue. your
I want
comment.
facts because you guys are throwing facts that are not facts, not even remotely close. So,
free.
what are the facts?
Feel free to respond with.
How many of the calls that you guys actually run require ALS? Tell me I'm wrong. You guys are saying that ALS is so important in the county. Yes, I absolutely agree. Not picking on you guys, but starting something off. Where does the call start from? Where does the call start?
I have a feeling you're going to tell us. Go right ahead.
Dispatch.
Okay.
When the call comes into dispatch, do they usually have an idea of how severe this call is? Often, yes. At that point in time, that is when the decision needs to be made. Do we need ALS en route or not? The majority of the calls that we run are BLS. When we need a tier, we would have to do the same thing as what Gallery does and Dayton does. We call for ALS to tier. Same as everybody else has done for years. At what point do we need ALS paged out, taking them out of service out of Fort Dodge to come to Otho for something that's a basic BLS call or not even needing a transport? So you're going to take ambulances out of Fort Dodge out of service on something that we could cover because you guys don't want to fund it. How does that make any sense to anyone at all? Tell me. I know they're not going to say anything, but they're listening. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that pulling ambulances out of Fort Dodge to come clear out into the county to cover a BLS call makes sense. It don't. And how do you figure it's handing down care? If we are a BLS service, we call for a tier from Fort Dodge, we are calling for ALS.
Sir, we are not having back and forth. We are not having back and forth. You say you say what you need to say. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Pierce Benson, Fort Dodge resident, Otho firefighter, EMT. I just heard a few discrepancies. I got a few. One of them was for events that we cover. I don't know whether they pulled the numbers off the computer or anything like that, but I run the schedule for it. I have roughly about 29 events we worked that had EMS there. And they said I think it was like 16 or something. I don't know where they get it from, but that's what I have on my schedule. We covered was 29 events in total that had EMS and fire. And then also what Dr. Lewis said about calls that Dylan was taking. I looked at my calls. I roughly have maybe 20, 25 calls that are in my image trend that are from my reports that I went on them calls. And another thing, yeah, I get the malpractice. It's coming down from ALS to BLS, but every call does start as BLS. And once we get on scene, it could become ALS. It could stay BLS. There's a fine line, and I get the malpractice dropping down from ALS to BLS is something. But that's about all I had. Was a few discrepancies I heard was the events and the calls. So
May I ask you a question?
yeah.
The events, when you're at the event, do you have to decline all calls if
So I will take me and Travis had an event. We were covering ATV races about October 10th, I think it was. We have 3 different classes and each one runs 3 hours long. So you can't even see them race. I'll be honest, you're sitting there looking at dirt. Oh, there comes a car, and then they're gone. That's all we could see. And then they have an hour and a half between each race. We ended up having a fall victim in Otho between those races, and I did leave with the ambulance because they were not racing. No one was on the track. Everybody was just getting some water, things like that. I went on the call. I got there. Turned out to be ALS because of how far he fell. And then Fort Dodge did come with their ambulance and a command vehicle because they wanted an extra medic to help out. I don't know why, but they did that. And then I returned back to the event and stayed there for the rest of the time. But usually if it comes to races like figure eights at Webster County or circle track at Sports Park, we have to decline, sadly. But we're hoping since we have to, we designated one as an event truck and one as our 911. So if there is a call, somebody that's not on there, because we only have one EMT that goes to those events and that's it. The rest of our EMTs should be free, should be able to go. And another thing, I don't know if from Dylan said at last meeting, we want to become provisional. I want to go get my AEMT, advanced EMT eventually, or my paramedic. I haven't decided yet. I'm still trying to work on my bugs with EMT and learning. So that is something I think we want to do eventually. So about all I had.
Thank you, sir. Yep. Anyone else? You know the drill. Say your name and where you're from. Thank you, sir.
Aaron Morris, the fire chief of Lehigh. My only question is on this is we do need more ambulances in Webster County. Our EMS calls have been going up year after year. We all know that. I see we want the best care, but we need to cover it. And everybody's running short on ambulances. We were talking about Van East and Humboldt and multiple calls going on at once. I know numerous times that Dayton's ran out of ambulances because they just get call after call. So I don't see why you guys want to turn down an ambulance service. I don't know if they need the whole amount of money, but give them some help to start out. More ambulances in the county, the better. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Oh, I'm Melissa, Director of Southwest Webster Ambulance. I need y'all to know that I am nervous. I am now having heart palpitations thanks to Travis. So bear with me.
Where were you from again? I'm sorry.
Southwest Webster Gallery.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I had a whole thing written out here, but I sat back there and listened to Otho's eulogy, so I am eliminating a lot of it. But I do want to point out that it's a quick Google search that can tell you that only 10% of calls are ALS required calls. That means that Otho can handle a majority of their calls without ALS assistance, just like the 2 other BLS services in the county, which frees up those Fort Dodge trucks for the northern half of the county where there are no trucks. Fort Dodge are the only trucks available up there. Again, bear with me. Otho does have plans to become provisional. You have heard them say that, which would elevate them to a ALS service. The gentleman back here said that they would be downgrading. There would never be a time that a Fort Dodge truck would come anywhere in the county and say, you know what, they don't need paramedics, they need basic service. We're going to leave now and call in a BLS service. It never starts. That would never happen. It would always be a BLS service. And then from there, it would be cited, hey, they need more care. They will always go up to an ALS service. They will never be downgraded. That's not a thing. You guys, you did say at the last meeting, I listened to it online, that Otho Transport, you couldn't see it as an asset to the county. It was said. Because my jaw hit the floor when it was said. I don't know how you can't see them as an asset, because 2 extra transport trucks are super important. There have been times that in Gallery, we have been on back-to-back calls and a 3rd call will come in and we're not back from our 2nd call, and Fort Dodge has had to come for a BLS call. Otho could have handled it. Dayton probably could have handled it, but why not have another service available to handle the BLS calls? It would be awful if you had an ALS truck tied up in Otho or anywhere south of the county, I guess, for a BLS call, and then you have any call come in up in the north half, but there's nobody to answer it because your last Fort Dodge truck is tied up in Otho, say. So the next closest truck would be Gallery. That would suck. Just saying. Also, the other thing that kind of made my jaw drop was one of you had asked Matt to give information on how the $75,000 out of their budget would negatively affect their budget. And I think that pulling 2 transport trucks from the county would negatively affect the entire county. So I don't know which negative is more important. I guess Otho was willing to step up no matter which way the vote went, yes or no, to provide a service to their area, under threat of having 0 service available because Fort Dodge was not going to, we were told Fort Dodge was not going to be leaving the city of Fort Dodge if the vote didn't go through. So Otho was the only city in the county, the only service in the county that stepped up to say, we need to fix this. There was nobody in the northern half to step up and say, oh my God, we could not have an ambulance. We're just gonna not do anything about it. But Otho stepped up. They put their own money in. They pulled from their fire budget to put their own money in and become a transport service. And I'd say from their numbers, there's been a huge improvement from just beginning to transport to successfully transporting now. It might not be the percentage you want, but an improvement is an improvement, and it can only get better from the sounds of it. They've got people in classes and it's going to get better. So they jumped through the hoops, spent their money that they needed to do. and they're transporting, and I don't know why you would want to take that from the county. We need all the transport trucks we can get. I do agree with Ryan Bogue last time. He said Otho becoming a transport service has been the best improvement in EMS to Webster County that anybody has seen in ages. And I do think that they could be the busiest BLS service in Webster County if they had the proper funding to do that, which would free up Fort Dodge trucks for calls and tiers in Dayton and tiers in Gowrie and calls in the northern half. I would hate for a tier in Gowrie to go unanswered because Fort Dodge was on a BLS call in Otho. There's just lots of things that I think haven't been thought of with 2 extra trucks in the county.
Okay,
And
you are at your time.
sorry, I had one more thing to say.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Say your name and where you're from, please.
Dennis Merca, Fort Dodge residents. I guess my question's to the board. If a agency, Claire, Barnum, whatever, wants to start up a service, do they have to use their own money to start up the service? Or is this what this EMS vote was for, was to help to bring new agencies into it so they can start their transport service? Or do they have to pay it out of their pocket? It's just kind of what I'm getting out of this is they have to pay it out of their pocket to become that service. I guess when I voted for it, I took it the other way, that this vote was going to help produce more transports, more agencies that would be able to help that. I guess that's my only question I posed to you guys is that's what I thought the vote was for, to help these guys come up and be transport services with that money. So.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? You were really sitting on the fence there, weren't you? Name and where you're from, please, sir.
So John Garrettson, I'm a Gowrie resident. First and foremost, I want to say that the comments that I'm going to make are my own personal comments and don't represent the county, even though I'm in uniform and came from work. So I think that Otho has done a hell of a job of stepping up and doing the things that needed to be done in order to care for the residents of their community. It's been asked, and Melissa said, it was asked, how is $75,000 going to negatively impact Fort Dodge? I don't think it's going to negatively impact anybody at all. This is brand new money that nobody has, that is only going to enhance the services out there. So by moving 75,000 out of 1.some million that Fort Dodge is going to receive, I think is negligible. I don't think that's make any difference at all, because they don't have it today. So what's the difference if they don't have it tomorrow? But the difference between today and tomorrow can make all the difference to Otho in being successful in caring for their residents and people traveling through on Highway 20. And I agree with Melissa that they will be the busiest BLS service in the county based on call volumes. I'd like to say some of the numbers in the different reports from dispatch and what Dylan provided. There's a lot of discrepancies in those. That's just because of how things are coded in the dispatch system. I can run the same reports myself through my job. And I know there's lots of times that the wrong agency is put on a call, the wrong unit number is put on a call, so it reflects differently. So without going through every single call, I don't think we're ever going to be able to get a hard and fast, definite statistic of calls and times and whatever. It's like the voters, when they were voted on a plan, it was put on the ballot for passing EMS as essential service for $75,000 per 100,000 taxable valuation. There was no specific allotments on the ballot. Yes, that was the generally agreed upon plan that the services presented to people, but that is not the language that the voters voted on. So I hope that you will give fair consideration to every department and every service in this county, because every resident of Webster County depends on every service. Nobody stays in their own little bubble. We all work together. I have friends and colleagues on every service in this county and work with them all the time. And I think everyone does a good job and they should all be treated fairly. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Last call. Melissa, you wanted to add something. You got 3 minutes. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that you, all right. Oh, that was the deal, huh? You were scared. That's all right. That's
This
all
is
good.
Nathan Montgomery online. Can you hear me?
Whoa, yes.
I just want to make a quick comment. I think I was the one that got up at the last meeting and said negative impact for Dodge's budget. I guess maybe the word negative wasn't the best use of language there. Personally, just keeping this short here tonight, I'm in favor of Otho getting the 75,000. I think when you look at 75,000 in terms of the whole levy, it's about 4%, 4.5% of the total money. And I believe that the greatest use and impact of those dollars would be in Otho's hands. I mean, 2 more ambulances in our county, the ability for them to become ALS one day, quicker response times in their district, are all, great reason to give, that money to Otho in their hands. Also, with Fort Dodge, 75,000 probably be a difference. And I don't know this, I haven't seen the data from them, would probably be the difference of maybe 1 person staffed more additionally, but I don't know that. I mean, obviously that 75,000 could be put towards other things, but I think Otho's done a great job stepping up to the plate. I think if we want more ALS services in the county, especially southern half, I think this is a great step forward, great use of taxpayer money. And I think, obviously there was a plan that was, right alongside the tax levy that was voted on, but at the end of the day, what was voted on is a taxation of 75 cents per $1,000 of taxable value for property in Webster County. And that's what the voters voted on. And we were told, I think through the duration of this plan, that this was going to be fluid. It could be changed, amendable. I think we're at a place where we have a great opportunity right here to step forward and give the money in the best place where it has the greatest impact countywide. Fort Dodge is already, handling a great portion of the county with 2 ambulances at night. They're everything from obviously the 200 mark up to Humboldt County line. So I think if we have more ambulances running in the county 24/7, it's a greater benefit all along for the citizens of Webster County. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My apologies. I did not ask anybody online if they wanted to speak. So thanks for jumping in, Supervisor Montgomery. Anyone online, would you like to speak?
This is Ryan Bowe. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
All right. So I'm Ryan, Service Director for Harcourt. I'm just going to reiterate some things as well. I had it on my list here. It was asked before Dodge to kind of rework the budget and see how that was going to impact them, giving Otho $75K out of the 1.1 million that they're going to get. I'd like to know that information too before this committee votes on what the recommendation is going to be. Secondly, again, as other people have said, ALS, it's more like 10% of the calls. It's not 40. I have never seen 40% of our calls be ALS calls. ALS is not a replacement for BLS, and it's not a downgrade. We're not taking anything away. All that's getting added is another BLS service. Those who keep saying that ALS is going away and it's going to be downgraded, that's just a fear tactic. That's not true. Thirdly, if the focus is on ALS, why was there not a proposal presented to the service directors in this county with an ALS service on 169 around 290th Street instead of building one on the outskirts of Fort Dodge? That would put it a lot closer. And from what I've heard, it would satisfy a bunch of concerns that people have down here. Lastly, most of this committee is not a responder or a medical provider. You don't know what it's like to sit on scene and wait for an ambulance with a patient and their family. I want the fastest response, and if Otho can help provide that, that's what I'm in favor for, and that's what our residents deserve and our first responders deserve. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okey dokes. We'll close the public discussion. Yes, sir. Marty, I got a lot going on. Yes, sir. You step right up.
My name's Marty Smith. I'm the Otho Fire Chief. There was some discussion, I guess, generally about our call levels and about participation in events. And I want to clear up a few misconceptions about events. So at several events, in fact, the majority of the events, we have touches, EMS touches that are refusals of the patients. So we have problems, whether it's a wreck or it's a person in the crowd or a person in the pit area. We have EMS reports for that, and many of them are refusals. You wouldn't believe how tough the quad racers and the side-by-side racers are, and the motorcyclists. They'll get back on with broken bones and they want to go racing again. But sometimes we just say, nope, that's not going to happen. So we've had transports from those events. We are at the Fort Dodge motocross races this summer, where we transported 5, count them, 5 patients off of that motorcycle track. Fort Dodge transported one of them because they were injured bad enough that they needed pain relief. And so we called Fort Dodge for a tier immediately, ALS, because they needed pain control. So it's not like we're just sitting out there watching these events and nothing happens. I'm just saying, if we weren't there as an EMS service, somebody would be called. And obviously, if we're not a responding agency, it's Fort Dodge is going to go out there. Are they going to go to that motorcycle track 6 times for one event over the space of about 4 hours? They got tired of seeing me in ER, I can tell you that, because it was one right after another of crashes. So I'm just saying, just because there are events involved in this, it doesn't mean that we're not doing stuff for EMS. So that's all the additional information I have for you.
Marty, I'm really glad you brought that up because I think people were confused on what exactly an event meant for your team. So thank you. Were you going to pop up again? No. Okay. No, it wasn't you. I think just in general, when people hear events, they might not know what that means for all of you. Melissa? Yes, come on up.
Melissa Joyce, Southwest Webster Ambulance. I do want to point out one more thing. BLS ambulance services do save lives. You do not have to have an ALS truck to save a life. We had a heart attack in Gowrie that started off as chest pain, went south really quick. We were able to get an airway in, start chest compressions, get the guy to the hospital without assistance of an ALS truck, and that man is alive today. So BLS calls can turn south real quick, and lives can still be saved without a paramedic. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. Anyone, I guess we're on the second round. So anyone who's already spoke who wants to come up again? Did you want to discuss it first? You good? You guys good over there? Okie dokes. Where are my questions? I had just a couple of questions and we can open up here for discussion now. Dispatch folks, I think if the CAD system is screwy for you guys, maybe that's a conversation we can have as a board so that we can figure out how to best make that work for everybody. And if there's something, if there's if there's something that I can do to help move that forward, I'm happy to help. So maybe we'll get together after this at some point and talk about how we can make that work better for you guys. You just stuck your face right in front of her. Yeah. Okay, we're good. You can sit up now. Thank you. Okay. The other thing that I had a question on, if the OPO proposal is voted down, and this is to the rest of the group, does this mean that OPO just does not operate its ambulances anymore, or it just doesn't receive this funding? Okay.
That's my
Like a
opinion.
maybe. For me, I understood it as it just wouldn't be giving the $75,000 or what, whatever, but you could still, oh, okay. Okay, just 1 second. But you could still perform your ambulance duties because the ambulances were paid for already. And then next year or whenever is our annual review, then bring us the data and then we'll see from there. Is that what you all are understanding too?
Yeah, my understanding is, I mean, they're licensed by the state, so they can do transporting. There'd have to be some conversations on, who is that first out ambulance or dual paging or something like that. But that was my point earlier, was at least my stance, like you're saying, if they've have the sustainability to do it now, and then we revisit during the annual report time, we can go from there.
Okay. Awesome. Marty? You want to come back up and answer, please?
I might have a little Marty Smith, Otho Fire Chief. Just for you, Nikki.
Marty, finally.
Just for you.
I know. Thank you.
There were actually 2 questions about that. And I had a question and I wanted to talk to the state about it. Okay. So I talked to the EMS field coordinator. His name is Steve Vanatta. He's in our district here. I think he lives up in Spencer, somewhere up in there. Anyway, I said very specifically, whose responsibility, whose authority, the AHJ, whose authority is it that decides what district is covered by what EMS service? And he said, that's all on a local level. So it's basically a local level of the stakeholders of who decides who's going to be in what district. So the question here is Otho Fire District, okay? Fort Dodge or Otho. That's the district, the first out call. So that's the stakeholders, that's us and Fort Dodge. And basically the supervisors, the county supervisors are the ones that are basically what he said is kind of the bottom line person, people, group, whatever you want to call it, that would kind of make that decision on who's going to respond to what area, because they're responsible for the county. So that's kind of like you said with the state, they push it all back. It's kind of the local county decision making.
Until it's not, right?
Yeah, until it's not, until they change their mind.
So then maybe that's a conversation that you and the chief and I and the rest of the board have to talk of maybe with dispatch too.
So,
Okay.
and I agree with you. The decision on the funding is this committee's recommendation and the decision by the county supervisors.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Yes, please go right ahead.
Marty, the township trustees are, I think, are involved in that also, on the decision making.
Probably,
Possibly,
they would be a
don't-
stakeholder, but the township trustees would be talking to the county supervisors, would be my concept of
I
that.
just want to make sure that's on your list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, they're one of the stakeholders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cameron?
Mine's not to anything Marty said, so I'll wait until sorry. Mine's not to anything Marty said, so I'll just wait if we're
no.
having.
Those were my 2
Okay.
questions. I wanted to make sure that I was understanding everything correctly.
I just want to make one more statement on behalf of myself. That I think a lot of conversations here tonight have been a yes or no, will you, won't you? Same as Dennis, your question about, before or after somebody tries to be a transport service. I'm only going to speak for myself and my decision making. I'm not looking at it like that. I wholeheartedly believe what Mike said, that if Marty, I think I made it clear last time as well, so I won't try to repeat myself, but I think a lot of us just want to see it. But my thing will be that this just isn't the time, that this sets a precedent that you can't plan anything. You can't do anything if we haven't even got this plan yet. And every single meeting, somebody's going to say, well, now we want to change. Now we want to change. And that's not fiscally responsible. I'm saying that I agree, conversations and numbers need to keep being looked at. We need to keep talking. And that when the time is right, we have this conversation. I don't know if this conversation started when the time was right, because as a part of the person making the plans, Dennis, I believe in saying the plans, I believe what I said was, yes, we would look, and the whole intent is for everybody to get better and become a better service. And that's what this money is to be used for. And all of that would be looked at the right time. But we're just in the middle of getting this started. And now we're having a conversation that I think we all intended would be had when we discussed what should happen. And I understand that there's ambulances that debt needs to be paid. I totally get that. I'm not a will you, won't you, do you get the money or don't you? I just don't think this is the time for us to be changing it all when there will be a time for that in the future.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the council? Well, we kind of closed the public. Okay.
I'd love to, if it's after what I said, I would love to hear what it is.
Well, we established the, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cameron, stop. Okay. If there's no further discussion, anyone online? Last call. Okay. I will call the vote. We are oh, no, you know what? We don't have a motion yet. Do we have a motion? I'm
That's what we're trying to decide.
on item 4.
That's all.
There, we have, there's, yep, there is 3 ways this could go. Okay. 1, the motion could be made to approve the proposal from Otho. And 2, the motion could be made to not approve the Otho proposal, or nothing can be said at all, and it dies for lack of a motion. So I'll ask again, do we have a motion?
Motion to get things started here and see where this goes. I will make a motion to accept the proposal made from Otho.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Still vote on it after it.
Okay, we have a motion. The motion has died for lack of a second. So we are moving on. Item 5, dispatch procedures. That's how it works sometimes, folks. Do we have folks from dispatch who are wanting to talk about procedures?
I don't.
No, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, so anyways,
Can you just state again?
oh, I'm sorry, Brian Hitchcock, Director of 911 for Webster County. We really appreciate this opportunity to be able to speak in regards to this, because some of the things that we've been trying to do since my inception, and I know since you've been around as well, is there wasn't a lot of policy and procedures that were for police, fire, EMS, and we brought a lot of them up. And we also brought a lot of a new program called IntelliCom on board to help us with a lot of those procedures. We look forward to working with the board, because as you work together, it can be one voice from this or the coordinator to assist us in a lot of our processes, because right now we get information from many different areas. And anyways, we look forward to working with you guys on that. Is there things that you wanted to bring up too as well?
Just before you start, so if you're looking for that, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, this might be something when we do have an EMS coordinator that they can
Help funnel it through.
help funnel it through. Is that what you're hoping to see?
yes.
Okay, awesome. Go right ahead. Thank you.
Hey, Christy Lumsden, Webster County Dispatch. So just to piggyback off of what Brian had said, so with EMD and telecom, that does recommend emergent and non-emergent, which we specifically changed just because that way we're getting away from the ALS, BLS, and if it's an emergent call or versus non-emergent call. It's a work in progress still. We're still, May was when we had started it. There's a lot of working parts that go in it. We do appreciate working with all of you guys. We do have some SOPs and policies that we have also as well been working with, which as soon as you guys appoint someone, we would like to work on some of that stuff too. Yeah, I think that might, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I think, and again, I'll say this till I'm blue in the face, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think once we have an EMS coordinator on board, they can start working with you about helping with some of the SOPs and the policies and whatnot. But in the meantime, if you would be willing to just, if you haven't already, which I'm sure you probably have, just make a list of things that you would want to go over with them to make okay.
Definitely, yeah.
That's I thought,
Gotcha,
that's what I
Nikki.
thought. Okay,
I think it's
great.
a big book right about.
Well, yeah, figures. Okay.
So,
Does
yeah.
that sound good to all of you as well?
Yeah, I think we just need to make sure that we, as we move forward, especially in the response plan part of this, that we have dispatch closely involved with that so that we can make, there's definitely some issues that we need to work through. Obviously, we've kind of heard some of the data and the call for service stuff. So keeping them as a part of that, I think is going to be important.
Yes, sir.
You know, in our quickest response time possible, dispatch has a huge part of that. And, you know, it does take some time to get the new systems and new things going, but I really think the potential that's out there will only create a quicker response time so all the crews know where to go and what's going on. So
Yeah, our PSAP from when we get a call to when it's dispatched out has increased just tremendously because we are using that where they prompt the dispatch, okay, at this point, you need to dispatch it out. And our response times have way better response times.
Do you have GIS? Sorry, were you?
I just had a personal experience last month that I was talking, had to call 911 for a family member. And so the 911 operator was on the phone with me getting information about the family member while another one in the office was calling whatever department, which was Southwest Webster Ambulance Service. They did show up, two Webster County deputies showed up. I mean, we had good, there wasn't any first responders or non-transports currently available in calendar because they were working in other places. But the dispatch, you know, whenever I've used them, which has been more times than I want to say, but has been very helpful and very important. So just keep doing what you're doing and thank you for that.
Ends up.
Yeah.
Do you have, so in the system that you have, do you have GIS in the smaller towns?
Yes, that answer is, and that comes from the cell phone companies.
Okay.
That is delivered to the national database out in Colorado,
Okay.
where we pick the information off when actually a 911 call is totally different than what you think it is. It actually reaches out to the database out in Colorado before it even comes to here. And all of them are like that. And it has, and that's where it picks off the who owns the phone number, the locations, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I only ask because Supervisor Hike and I were talking about making sure that the smaller communities do have access to some of, okay.
Yes. I think there's certain things that won't come across, and help me out with this, Christy, but some of those burner phones and phones that may not come to us for GPS coordinates.
Parents that give their kids their old phone and it doesn't have a number to it.
Yeah. Okay.
But we are able sometimes to map those, but not all the time. The same thing, you have to call in on 911. You can't call in our admin line. That won't map you.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why we have noticed that there's a pretty big percentage of calls that we receive are folks calling in 573-2323. And I think that's more historically from probably decades ago. And we really need them to call if they have an emergency, or I've always preached this in any center I've been at. If you need police, fire, or an EMS response to your location, you should call 911.
Okay.
We can get the information a lot better that way.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions for dispatch, folks? Thank you very much. Okay, item 6, reappointment of members. This had come up because we have members from the council who are up their terms are coming up. And so we wanted to just discuss the process for when that happens and if will be reappointed or if we will go open those up.
My question, what is, I can't remember how we actually did this the last time. So is there a county process for
Online.
boards, commissions and
Yes.
things?
Yes, and we're going to be opening up typically around November, December. We look at whose terms are up in the various boards and commissions that we have under the county umbrella and open that up to reappointment or to new folks applying for it. Yeah, yeah.
So does that mean if you're on the board, that if you want to stay on the board, you just put your application in with all the other applicants
I
then?
would say so, yeah. The difference is though, that we have very specific areas. So
Correct.
each one of us, so you have to match those parameters. For example, if Cameron leaves in December, his role would have to be filled by another city council member or the mayor, correct? Because we said elected officials. Okay, yeah. Likewise with me, if I'm like, peace out, it would have to be another elected official. I'm not going to, don't worry about it. Any other questions on that? I believe, Cameron, we did say, for the county role, we did say a supervisor.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And they currently. We'll be looking for, well, reappointment or looking for, because we have our Northeast, our rural representative and our Fort Dodge City Council. Yeah.
Okay, great. So
That's all. I was just making sure that it's coming fast is all I'm saying. It's already Halloween.
So Shauna, would you please, I know I ask you this all the time, just remind me that we should start getting in on that and trying to figure out who's on those boards and commissions so we can put that out to the public. Please and thank you. Okay, anything else on reappointment of members? Okay, moving on. 7, I have budget update. Matt, do you know what that's in regards to?
Crystal had brought up, we just had talked the other day briefly, if she's still on. I think she's still on. I just wanted to see if she had anything. I know we've started to receive money. I just wanted to, where we're at with the budget currently after taxes have been collected.
Crystal, are you able to unmute yourself? There you go.
Yes, I am.
All right, did you hear Chief Price?
Yep. So I checked the other day with Supervisor Hike, and we are a little shy of 850,000 that have been collected so far.
Out of what's the amount again, Crystal? The projected?
800. Oh, that's projected. I believe Dina put on the budget to be like 1.5 million.
That sounds about right. Okay, thank
We're
you.
up then. 850 times 2 would be 1.7. So we're.
Great.
total.
Awesome. Okay. Did you have anything else to add, Crystal?
Yeah, I think when Matt and I were talking, I did calculations and we are a little over 50% from what Dina had projected. So it's like 55% or something. Sorry, I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Okay. Any other questions for Crystal or anything else on the budget? Right. Item 8, open discussion on items not on the agenda. Let everybody speak at once. I think we're kind of talked out tonight. Joe thought that was funny. Okay, item 9, next steps and action items. I am going to have to, for next steps, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't know what to do as far as having a motion die for lack of a second. Usually at the Board of Supervisors, we just move on and that's the last we discuss it. That said, this would have been a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. So my next step is to contact our County Attorney Driscoll and ask him what my next step is. So I will be looking into that. Next meeting, when would you guys like to meet? Wednesdays work for folks? 2 weeks, 1 month? What are you thinking?
Depends on what you find out from the county attorney, how we can proceed with matters at hand that didn't get done tonight. I would recommend the sooner the better, because everything else is held up. 2080s funding for the departments that we already have, with the plans that we already have.
Yeah.
So that's all what county attorney said.
Okay,
2 weeks. If you find out something in 2 weeks.
yeah. Do we want to schedule it for Wednesday, November 12th? And then I will provide any updates.
Well, regardless, we need to start working on these 2080 agreements.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the situation is, whatever that
do
is,
that?
we need to.
I know, but
We've got this, we've got the framework. We need to work on them. Each one of our departments is going to be a little different. And we need to start getting that paperwork done. We're never going to get anything.
no.
So,
Is it?
Yes. No.
so yeah, we need to get going on that.
Okay, so we'll add on to those next steps. We do have the draft template, 28Es from Darren. And we have like a template for them that we approved and the Board of Supervisors approved. And so, yeah, so we'll have to look at those. I will find them and send them out. And then each of you can then start working on your individual 2080s. Yeah,
Yeah, we need to get those done.
great. And then next meeting, Wednesday, November 12th, that's 2 weeks from now. Is that right? Do I have the right? No, it's not. Wednesday, the 5th. Is that good for everyone else? Barb? Okay. Wednesday, November 5th at 5:30. Does that sound good? I'll need a motion for that.
I'll second it.
I need a motion.
Huggins will make the motion.
Huggins will make the motion. Dan will second. All right, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Wednesday, November 5th at 5:30 is our next meeting. If there is no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions for the good of the cause? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.